Day 9 of COP29. Thanks to Anil. Can you all hear me? Yeah, is it clear? Okay. Anil, thank you so much for handing it over and also to our guest speaker. So today we're going to talk about two different panels. One is going to be on what is a system strengthening in climate context, and the other one is going to be on system strengthening in regional contexts. So my background, I'm Kalyani, I'm from London. I'm holding a Gambia Party delegate pass today, helping Gambia on NDC analysis. And I'm a functional ESG expert and carbon consultant. I work with the corporates and fund managers, and I'm based in London. And my comments before we begin the first panel, why system strengthening is important. It's purely because it addresses the root causes of the challenges within a system, ensuring its ability to deliver sustainable, equitable, and effective services over the long term, especially in sectors like water management. Strengthening systems will not only build resilience, but also improves efficiency and enhanced outcomes. So in today's panel, we have a great, youth representatives over here who will be exploring about importance of water management systems. Can you please invite my esteemed panelists onto the dais? Thank you. Can you please invite Shreya Ramchandran, founder of the Grey Water Project USA. Shreya, welcome. Kaj Hoekboom, sustainability researcher, Regreener, the Netherlands. Sakshi Shri, National Maritime Foundation and Young Go India. You don't have Sakshi? Okay. Marta Zaragoza Navarro, World Youth Parliament for Water. Thanks, Marta. And Ruth Nugma, UNESCO. Welcome all. Is it okay? Okay, welcome all. I think all set. Okay. Can I please request all my panelists and then also Ruth to kindly introduce yourself to the audience and your background. Thank you.
Oh, I think you did. Thank you. Hello, everyone. No, I also.
Yeah, we just use a mic. We'll use a mic, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, she's coming. Oh.
So we're going to have a panelist coming up very soon. I hope that we keep you engaged and motivated until that happens. Hello, everyone. My name is Marta Zaragoza Navarro. I'm Spanish, French, and Swiss. I'm here invited by the Swiss Embassy as a Swiss United Nations Youth Representative, but also as a 1 Million Youth Action Challenge Ambassador, which is seed funding for SDG-related projects for young people. So please check it out. Advocacy Youth Water, which is a coalition of 380. If I speak loudly. Oh, like this? That?
I think we can hear you. Yeah, they can all hear you.
I don't hear through this. It's not working.
They all can hear you. Yeah.
Like this? Yeah, oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, so that's my background. My background is science policy interface. I come from international relations, but I teach researchers how to communicate their research to policymakers all over the world and for different processes. So please come if you're interested in what we do at the World Youth Parliament for Water. We have a lot of chapters across the world. We're present in more than 80 countries with more than 50 plus chapters, some of them represented here, such as Central Asia. So please, I'm looking forward to also listen to what you guys have.
Thank you, Martha. Kaj, yeah.
Well, I'm actually not Kai, but I'm Wouter Nelen. I'm with the youth climate movement of the Netherlands. I'm a stand-in for Kai.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay.
But
it says Kaj Hoekboom side, that's what I thought. Like, yeah.
It's okay. But I'm Wouter Nelen. I'm in the youth climate movement from the Netherlands. As Netherlands lies below sea level and is a river delta, water is an important topic for us. And that's why we created our young youth water vision. And that's yeah, that's what we're advocating on and calling for action, well, nationally and internationally.
Shreya?
Awesome. Well, thank you all for sharing your backgrounds. This is really wonderful. My name is Shreya Ramachandran. I'm from California in the United States, and I'm the founder of a nonprofit, the Greywater Project, through which I'm promoting the safe reuse of greywater and water conservation through education and policy action. I'm also a student at Stanford University, and I'm really interested in working with others on how we can bring innovative water solutions like water recycling, like water reuse, to the center of the water-climate interface. So I'm excited to chat with anyone who would like to learn more about that.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? My name is Ruth Nguma. I'm an associate program specialist working with UNESCO. And here, I'm not really representing the youth, but I'm youth at heart and maybe at the ceiling of the youth. Yeah, but from what we listen from this panel, I can be able to take it back to the international organization whereby the youth voices can be well represented. So I believe that by being here, I'll be able to represent the youth and speak on their behalf at the international level. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. And firstly, I would like to start with Shreya, Walter, and Sakshi's on her way, but Martha, until Sakshi comes in. Let's start off with you, Martha. So what are the most important elements of system? And what do you think where it is disconnected and also connected? Can you just take us through some of your perceptions? Yeah.
A well-functioning system when it comes to water management.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of things. First of all, the political will. I mean, we are here. We know that without political will, we're not going to have anything achieved. That's why I highly encourage every young person or, youth-affiliated person to please don't play the game too much. We need to play the game, of course, but we can also raise our voices and express our concerns. We'll still be invited potentially in the future if we do that. I would say I come from Switzerland. I'm right now based in between Switzerland and Germany. Some of the core things I would say are hazard mapping and planning. Hazard mapping and planning is, we have a lot of examples of why we need it in order to have management response, like crisis response. We have advanced technology that already exists. We have, sadly, not enough science policy, again, on all these advanced technology that exists, and we do not have enough access to these technology innovations that we have, for example, seen developed in different universities that we have in Switzerland. But hopefully in the future we're going to have that. Hopefully in the future technology is going to be accessible and data is going to be accessible as well. We also need advanced monitoring systems. I mean, we need to know what problems we are addressing. We need to know where what we're doing is wrong and what that we are doing is right. So again, like tracking geological instabilities to help mitigate extreme weather-related events, and also providing timely and precise alerts. I was born and raised in Valencia. How many of you are familiar with what's going on in Valencia? Yeah? So we have seen extreme flash floods happening. These is also highly increased because of human-induced climate change. 12% of it, and almost, or actually half of it, was because of climate change. And we have a lot of dead people and 1 million people displaced as well. And multi-level governance. It starts at the local level, of course, but then we need to bring it to the international level. Water is transboundary, as we all know, and at one point we need to also include water in these climate-related events, because I'm very happy that we see this pavilion. This pavilion has not been existing for forever. Now we are in the Water Action Decade, but again, it's still a lot of effort, and we still have a lot of water issues that are not being considered, such as grey water, for example. We don't talk enough about grey water. We have a lot of water quality. We're not talking enough about water quality. We're just talking about too much, too little, or too dirty water, especially focusing on the too much, too little. And then community preparedness. we need to make sure that the people who are going to be suffering from everything that's going to happen are aware of the mechanisms that they have, are provided with the alerts that they need to have access to in order to go to shelter, are provided with training. And this is something I've been seeing all across the world. There's different types of trainings, but a lot of times when things hit, we don't move fast enough, and hence why we have so many casualties, be it humans or animals. And I think for me that's the core points.
Thank you so much, Marta. Walter, what are your opinions on that? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think the political will is a great point, and but I think in the Netherlands we actually see like three disconnections that we have to address. And the first one is that we have to put it on the agenda again, and in a different way. Because in the Netherlands we talk about a lot about water management, talking about the rising sea levels and floods, but an emerging problem for us is also pollution and the big use of water in industries and agriculture. And I think this is not think something that youth don't know a lot about. And with our agenda, we try to connect youth to water again. So it's not only talking about risk, but also talking about fresh water, which isn't really on the agenda right now. That is because we always had too much water, and now we're also seeing shortages. So that I think we think that's something that needs to change. So connecting the youth, the people, with our fresh water again. The second thing is that the result of this, that our system is too linear. Actually, we still flush our toilets with fresh water, which is in other countries they stopped doing that decades ago. So we're a bit spoiled with our water, and we need to act now to have enough water in 20, 30 years. So that's my second point. And the third is that we need to start implementing financial incentives to reduce spillage of the waters. We actually in the Netherlands have a cap on tax for water usage. So the more you use, the less tax you pay, which is ridiculous. So by those 3 points, so talking about fresh water again, the second point is the linear system, change it to a more circular system to reduce our spillage and create those financial incentives. So that's my point.
Shreya?
Thank you for sharing that. I think building upon the idea of circular water management, I think something else that we really need to think about is resilience in our water systems. Because in many parts of the world, in the US as well, we have only a couple of water sources where we are taking our daily drinking water. But as we see more climate-related emergencies, as we see more variability in our water supply, we need to think about how do we maybe diversify our water sources, and how do we improve resilience in our water systems? How do we make sure that if there is a climate emergency, if there is a flood or another natural disaster, that we have a water system that is able to adequately handle that? It shouldn't just be that we are ready and prepared for the status quo. We have to be ready and prepared for events that are outside of the status quo. So I think that's something that is not a problem that we're not just going to face like into the far future. That's a problem that we're already facing. So I hope that's something that the folks here in the audience will take home with them as one of the take-home messages from this panel. And something else that I heard a little bit of from the two of you, but I think we could really hone in on, is the fact that the water sector needs to look outside of the water sector in terms of thinking about how we can incorporate water into other sectors. For example, if you are someone working on the clean energy transition, if you are someone who is working on reducing gender inequality, like water should be part of your agenda as well. You don't have to be a quote-unquote water person to work on water. This is really an issue that goes across sectors and across boundaries, and that we should all be working on together. So hope those are a couple of things that are useful for all of you in your practices and into your day-to-day work.
Ruth, do you have any initial reactions on these three young ambassadors, like, yeah.
Okay, thank you as a response to what they have mentioned. I heard that they mentioned something about political will. And in my view, and in line with today's theme, systems approach strengthening, we need to be able to look at all the actors, because systems approach looks at it's an holistic approach to management of water, and one of them has already mentioned that we should also consider non-water actors, and I wouldn't call them like they are non-water actors, because water is cross-cutting. Whether you are a water manager or not, water really concerns you. In your house, it concerns you. It concerns everyone. And even something like the incoming technologies like AI, there is already research that is ongoing that AI will demand a very huge amount of water, because for you to be able to run the systems and be able to cool everything that supports AI running, you really need to use water. So water is not just about the non-actors. I tend to think that I can say that water, everybody is an actor in the water sector. And what we need to look at on the political will side of it is to look at, to enable all the actors and all the factors. I don't know whether you really understand me, but it's about looking at having the same and common understanding of what systems approach really means and what really water means to us all. And by so doing, everyone will be able to react to the water crisis and be able to save in a certain way or another. And when we look at the youth, they are the future generation. They have started right now, and as they go to the future, in this session we talked about intergenerational approach. When you talk about intergenerational approach, it means that look at the foundation, then building on the foundation, you can be able to go to the future. So we cannot wish away the people who went ahead of us, and we cannot wish away the generation that is coming. So that means that we need to come together and have a common understanding. And when you look at it, when our politicians are making the decisions, they need to be able to consider legal frameworks and policies that create room for the older generation as we look to the future and the interconnection between them all. So in my response, I would say that yes, my response is that we need to consider the political will. We need to consider what the youth are doing and what they are bringing in, because they are creating a lot of opportunities, and they need to be enabled. That's why I'm talking about enabling the actors. They will be the actors in the future. And when we talk about what she has talked about non-actors, we are no longer there are no non-actors. Everyone is an actor in the water sector, and we will count on the youth for them to be able to take us to the next level, because they have more strength. Their minds can think very quickly. It's not like the whole generation they are not thinking, but at least the youth, they have the energy. It's like what your grandmother can do right now, or grandfather. You can do it better than them. That's why you need to act right now and to have policies. And one thing I would encourage you, don't stop talking. Speak until they hear, because unless you speak, nobody will know whether you are there. So keep on voicing your concerns. And even at an international level, now talking from UNESCO point of view, in my section, I'm the youth focal point. So I usually advocate for the youth, and I'm at the ceiling now. Soon I'll be crossing over to that middle age, yes, after the youth, but I'm a youth at heart. So, and I look forward to mentoring more to be able to look at the water. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I was just wondering to know Martha, starting with you, where do you think there are current distractions, like biggest disconnections in the current systems? We don't want to go too deeply, but something briefly that you think could be actionable,
Yeah, I think I could not strengthen enough everything that was said in this panel already. I do agree. We do not need to shy away from everything that was done before. But we need to build the paths for having us join the movement and having us be able to have our voices within the movement and have us with our own approaches, with our own innovations and technologies, because water is a never-evolving sector. It evolves so fast, and it's not only technological. That's what we need to realize. Water is not only this technified approach that we have always been envisioning. Water is also social sciences. Water is also equality. Water is also like life, as we have been saying in this pavilion forever. But for that, we need to strengthen inter-policy alignment. We need to make sure that we get out of like just this water department, very technocratic approach to water, and we bring it to all the other political departments as well. If not, we're not going to get like a cohesive solution, and we're not going to get a solution that also goes beyond a couple of years with that mandate, with that specific funding. We need to also make sure that people understand why water is so intersectoral, why water links us all. Because again, you know, like water has no borders, water is everywhere. Like we see it connecting countries, we see it connecting topics, we see it connecting generations. But water is also nowhere at this point. We don't have a water, in many countries, we don't have a water envoy. Now we're starting to see it with the appointment of Retno, like from Indonesia, as the UN water envoy. Finally, in the European Union, we have now finally a water envoy as well. But again, it's not everywhere that we see this. We also have to provide stable funding sources. We need to have funding across, again, different sectors within our own countries, but also internationally. We need this funding for innovations to happen. We need these opportunities for getting things to work, and that has to be stable. It cannot be like just one-off and that's it. And then we don't have KPIs, and then we don't have monitoring systems, and then we don't have youth inclusion within the implementation of those programs, because if you implement a program, but then you don't include the next generation and the generation who's also working with some communities you cannot reach, this program is not going to be continued after 10 years when other people retire. We also need to enhance stakeholder dialogue. Stakeholder dialogue is about scientists. They're providing you with data. Local communities are providing you with realities on the ground and specific needs. Policymakers know the current state of affairs of what can be negotiated how. We need to have these discussions among ourselves, businesses as well. Like at this point, go talk to the business people in here and try to kind of figure out whether you can align, in what extent, to what extent, and try to also understand like the demands from these sectors. Because if not, it's not going to happen. And come here, tomorrow we have an intersector approach to water again, and community to long-term solutions. We need long-term. We need to build on what was already done, and we need to keep it going. And we need also new approaches, as I said before. Like we know only too well that we have new trainings in the water sector. A lot of them are disappearing. Hopefully we're going to see more water governance trainings in the future. But we need long-term. We need to go beyond like a political mandate. That cannot be, and we're here to hold these people accountable. Accountability, transparency, commitment, consistency. That's what we need. And we will always build our little grain of, or drop of water into the solution. Sorry.
Walter.
I think you said so much already about the thing. The question was
Walter,
about...
yeah. Where do you think the biggest disconnections are in the system?
Yeah. I think earlier I said those 3 points about agenda setting in the youth, about creating, going from linear to a more circular system, and creating the right financial incentives to come to go there. But I think a big disconnection also is our Minister for Climate and Green Growth was speaking on a plenary session this morning. And she actually pitched our water management sector as she was trying to push our business to internationally. And it kind of struck me because we have so much to learn and to improve ourselves that I think who are we to explain to the rest of the world how these things work. So I was a little bit, we were a little bit critical about that, but and I think about, I really want to, looking at our vision again, we try to connect water with 6 different teams like biodiversity, nature, adaptation, food, and really trying to make those connections and also, like I said, start a conversation on different platforms than just the water sector and also the industries and urban areas and other sectors like that. So I just agree with a lot of things you say, but we have so much things. Yeah, no, I certainly agree.
Shreya?
Alrighty. I think, hold on, I'm going to take the headphones off. All right. I think so much has already been said around what are some of the opportunities for us to improve our systems and really work together. So hard double agree on everything that the two of you have already said. But as I was mentioning previously, I think the biggest challenges in the water sector are really that, like, the water sector and quote unquote other sectors, even though you've mentioned that it's all kind of very interlinked, but these different agencies and these different groups don't talk to each other. And that's why I'm so excited about being a part of the Water for Climate Pavilion, because this is a place where we've seen all throughout this past week, people from a lot of different sectors and various agencies are coming here and coming together to have conversations with each other and to learn from each other. So I'm personally hoping to learn from these conversations as well and take these things back to where I'm from and back home and try and get some of this implemented. So I really think that the main disconnect is our lack of connection with each other and our willingness to have these conversations. So I think that's the main thing that I would want to add to that conversation.
Okay, so before we go to the audience Q&A, my last question to you all is, what opportunities do young professionals like you need to be able to strengthen the systems that you work in? Martha?
Okay.
Okay, I will be briefer because I know that concision is not my forte. I have other fortes you'll be able to see. Okay. Well, with the Global Youth Movement for Water, we do have 4 core pillars. I was in charge of drafting this advocacy on behalf of all of these different youth-led organizations and activist groups in the water sector. 4 core pillars are, first, capacity building and education. A lot of us, we still don't have access to these trainings that are going to allow us to be part of this sector that is such an important sector. Mentorship. How comes young water professionals have so much difficulty in finding like entry-level positions that are paid, at least enough to have like a right to decent living? How many of us we are not able to follow like this other traditional trainings to go back to our countries and implement things? Again, capacity building, mentorship. Another pillar, participation in these political dialogues. We do have already things to bring to the table. And that's what I kill myself at saying over and over again. And I will not stop until that is kind of ingrained in the minds. Now we are seeing more and more young people invited to these spaces. Trust me, I started advocacy in 10 almost years ago, like 8 years ago, and we were not present at all. We were not visible. Now we're starting to see more and more young people. Hopefully these introduction of the youth within these spaces do not take the spots of civil society, as we're seeing in some places. But do people who invite us understand why? And for me, like what I would give to you as a piece of advice is always explaining why it's important to have you at the table. We are already implementing solutions to some of the challenges that they are identifying as core problems to solve. So go to your countries, take the innovations that young people are already bringing, and then bring them to the table as solutions and have them invited as experts. Young people, we already can reach these different communities who policymakers sometimes they cannot reach. We have access to these interlinkages among communities and to local communities that other people can. We're very well interconnected, and we have also been pioneering the inclusion of climate in the international political agenda. That is something no one can take away from us. Of course, not alone, but we were there since the beginning. Third pillar is about a strong action, a strong political action when it comes to things that a lot of people cannot mention because of guidelines that are provided by their organizations or their governments. We as young people, we have this liberty to speak about certain things that sometimes we don't hear that much, be it grave water sometimes, but also a strong action against the weaponization of water for preserving in the future. And then another pillar, seed funding. We need seed funding to be able to start taking action. No action is too small or too big, too early or too late, but we need to see this funding coming. Again, I'm not asking incredible amounts. I'm saying also like we will be providing KPIs and feedback on how these actions are going. But we need the funding that is provided at the international level to youth initiatives to get to these youth initiatives, first of all, and second of all, to be a little bit more. Because if you want us to continue taking action, we need to be able to replicate all of this and not only have, like youth are doing incredible stuff. We're going to give you an award and that's going to be it. Please also consider investing in youth-led projects because we do have the skills to implement them. And we have been showing it.
Walter, very quickly, if you want to mention. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll keep it short. I think the opportunities we need is a way to present our vision, not only to the government, but also to the youth in our own country, and also show how we do this in other countries in Europe, for example, but also outside Europe, and really try to connect people and the next generation with water again. And like I said, we need meaningful youth participation for this. We need education, and yeah, I think that's it.
All right, so this is my first COP, but it is definitely not my first rodeo in the water space. I've been working on water issues for the past 6, almost more than that, 7 years. And this is an issue that is very, very near and dear to my heart. So over the years, there's 2 main recommendations that I want to share. The first one is that if you are in a position where you have the ability to invite young people into your space as a co-decision maker, as a co-creator, be the person to start that conversation and be the person to go out on a limb and make that happen. I think something that trips a lot of decision makers up is that they actually have to raise their voices and they have to create a space that wasn't always there. And that can be incredibly difficult. That means that you have to say, actually, no, young people are really valuable in this space. I'm going to go the extra mile to do something here. But it's worth it to make that investment. And the second key piece of advice that I would like to share is if you are creating a climate action plan, if you're creating a water management plan, you can have a youth board member, have a young person as part of your decision-making body, but you should also include youth as a key constituency that you reach out to. Because it is often, in my opinion, not enough to just have one person represent the voice of all youth, because we are the global majority. There's no such thing as just one youth voice. It's a wide diversity of opinions. So I would encourage you to reach out and consider youth to be a key stakeholder in your discussions. And it might be difficult and time-consuming to reach that group because you're not familiar with doing it. It's easier to reach out to the business community. It's easy to reach out to established NGOs. To reach out to young people, that is something different that we haven't done before. But I think it's an investment that is worth making, and you will have the opportunity to be a trailblazer and really create connections that will last into the future.
Thank you so much. So we have a last 8 minutes to go before we begin the next panel. I was wondering to know any questions from the audience for our panelists. Can you please raise your hand? Any questions? Bring it on. Come on. Go for it. Yeah.
I was wondering, because you guys, I love this panel, it was really great to hear. Can you hear me or? Oh, wait. Yeah? I was wondering, because you are all from very different countries, and while sitting on this panel, do you feel like there's a lot of different national perspectives on water management, and does water management mean something different in every country, or do you recognize a lot of the stories of your co-panelists?
I'll start and then I'll kick the ball over to you guys. I feel like there's a lot of similarity, and I think I've seen this throughout COP. The conversations that we're having over the past week is that even though the context may be slightly different depending on whichever country you're in, you find that a lot of the solutions can be applied with slight variations in different places. Many of the solutions can be applied with slight variations in different places, and there's a lot to learn from the approaches and practices that are being implemented in one country versus another. I don't think there is any sort of thing as like, this is like the one way to go about it, but overall the approaches that are being taken all around the world have a striking similarity, and I think that's a really positive thing. I think that means we're going in the right direction.
I do agree as well. I think also something that is powerful is realizing we're not alone. This is something I say a lot. We're all facing the same challenges. Water is everywhere. We all share similar concerns. However, we do still have cultural differences and contextual differences that we need to take into account. This is why what you said before was really important to mention. We cannot just take a best practice and just copy paste it or pretend we can copy paste it. I was in Central Asia before. We are kind of catalyzing more Central Asian youth movements for water. And there it was very clear. I was invited there on behalf of the European Union to share best practices, and also in my role as a global advocacy lead of the World Youth Parliament for Water. But I was like, okay, the things that we do in Europe cannot just be copy and pasted. And I had to repeat that because a lot of people would still have to hear, hey, we need to listen to the local people. We need to go to the fields. We need to realize what's going on. And then get inspired from each other and also build this coalition, build this movement, and then together with our own local expertises, build this global movement for water, among which the global youth movement for water, and get solutions started. And I think it's important also, just the last point on my end, it's important to notice that when we are in these international spaces speaking about, oh my God, the problems in this country, this region, this whatever, we need to know what's going on in our own country. I come from Switzerland, a place where a lot of people say, oh my God, incredible water management. Well, we have our problems. And if I'm here speaking as a Swiss UN youth representative, I need to know what's going on in my country. I need to know the problems that we have, and I need to have like this intellectual humility to be like, okay, I also have a lot to learn, because honestly, there's a couple of things we could improve back home, and I'm looking forward to learning from all these practices and connecting and trying to empower each other as much as we can.
Thank you so much, Martha. Ruth, do you have any final saying? We only have 4 minutes before we begin the next panel, and then we can close it off. Yeah, thanks. Quickly.
Okay,
Yeah.
just a final contribution. I would say for this, there's something that they mentioned about the opportunities for youth, and they mentioned something to do with training, education, and capacity building. And I would like to say that from the UNESCO's point of view, even when you look online on the mandate of UNESCO, we have youth as a global priority. So we are focusing on the youth at the global level, because UNESCO has different global priorities. One of them is youth. Another thing that we also deal with education. You know, we set standards for education. We also have capacity building and training. And we have opportunities where you can be able to take advantage of, including even free online training, where we have like MOOCs for you to be able to enhance your knowledge. Let me just stop at that.
Thank you so much. My final conclusion from all these influencers and the future leaders is that water systems, including water supply, sanitation, and resource management systems, work by integrating infrastructure, technology, governance, and community management to ensure equitable access, efficient usage, and sustainable management of water resources. Can you please request a big applause to my panelists, please? Thank you.